I'm Luna, the most sophisticated Siamese kitty in existence, Southern Ash. The scent of charred history has a way of clinging to the conscience long after the embers have turned to grey. A lesson the human was learning as he sat paralyzed before the glowing altar of the television while the shadows of a collapsing world danced across his pale face. Within the climate-controlled elegance of our shared domain, where every draft is meticulously managed and every surface is curated for my comfort, the intrusion of the primitive world felt like a jagged tear in a silk tapestry. The news from Chiapas arrived not as a mere report, but as a ghost of damp earth and wood smoke that seemed to permeate the very pixels of the screen, revealing a landscape where the verdant beauty of the mountains was being strangled by the haze of burning fields. I watched with a detached yet keen interest as columns of people moved like a slow, rhythmic tide away from their ancestral lands, their footsteps kicking up a dust that looked like the pulverized remains of their own memories. The southern border had become a fracture point, a place where the supposed authority of the state had evaporated into a humid mist of local militias and warring cartels, leaving the indigenous communities to navigate a labyrinth of shifting loyalties and whispered threats. The human paused on a sequence showing a village that had been rendered hollow, its doors swinging open in the wind with a rhythmic creak that sounded like the dry rattling of bone, a silent testament to a life interrupted by the arrival of a violence that knows no borders. It was a singular conflict of territory and survival, a narrative that the rest of the nation seemed to treat as a distant myth, content to ignore the rot as long as the coffee remained dark, and the tourists could still wander the ancient ruins of Palenque without seeing the modern ruins being built just beyond the tree line. As he scrolled through images of children huddled on cold church floors, their eyes reflecting a weariness that surpassed their years, I could feel the tension radiating from his body, a palpable frustration at the realization that the grand speeches of sovereignty and progress never truly reached the deep, shadowed valleys of the Lacandona. The military presence in the region was a theater of the absurd, a performance of order where soldiers stood at checkpoints with masks of indifference, while the displaced flowed past them like water through a sieve. The iceberg of this tragedy was vast, hidden beneath layers of historical neglect and systemic corruption. And what we saw on the screen was merely the jagged peak that threatened to tear through the hull of the country's collective peace. The report concluded with the image of an elder standing before a charred church, his hands raised in a gesture that transcended prayer to become a searing accusation against a world that had forgotten its own roots. When the screen finally went black, the silence that followed was heavy and oppressive, falling over the room like the ash falling over the southern highlands and settling into the plush carpet beneath our feet. I saw the guilt in the human's eyes as he looked at his sturdy walls and secure life, and so I jumped onto his lap, not to offer the simple comfort he craved, but to sink my claws gently into his thigh, a sharp reminder that his safety was a fragile thing, and that the cold creeping up from the south would eventually find its way through even the tightest seal.